Hi, I'm Amy Fielding. I'm one of the partners in the medical negligence team at Stewarts. This is a pre-recorded soundbite. So if you've got any questions, there will be a slide at the end which will provide you with Penny's details, and you can also get in touch with us at Stewarts if you have got any questions. So today we are joined by Penny Harder, the Relationship Officer at Peeps, HIE, a charity which Stewarts is one of the legal panel of solicitors that assist their members. Peeps is a charity which provides support for parents, families, and friends of those who have experienced what's known as hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, which is also known as HIE. They are uniquely the only UK charity dedicated to supporting those who have been affected by HIE. This is a condition which is brought about by a lack of oxygen to the brain around the time of birth for a variety of different reasons, which can then lead to a permanent brain injury, which results in a wide range of difficulties for those affected for the remainder of their lives. Peeps was only set up in 2018 by the founders, Sarah and Steve, whose own daughter, Heidi, suffered HIE at the time of her birth in 2015. Even yesterday, when we were lucky enough to attend a Blooms and Brunch event in Manchester, we were told by one of the workers from Peeps, who deals with family inclusion and support, that even now 74% of their members had not even heard of HIE before it happened to one of their family. It was out of this lack of awareness and available support for HIE and in the years that followed Heidi's birth that Peeps was eventually born. Penny has been at Peeps now since 2023, after spending 16 years working for the NHS. After the birth of her own daughter, Jess, in 2016, Penny sadly also experienced HIE for the first time. At the time, Peeps did not exist, but 2 years later, they quickly became a lifeline for Penny and her family. Peeps reminded her that she was not alone and offered her the support that she needed. After becoming a full-time carer for her daughter, Penny was offered the opportunity to join Peeps and has been able to use her previous career and life experience as an HIE mum to help other families along their journeys. Thank you, Penny. Nice to meet you. I thought we could start off with if you could tell us a little bit more about Peeps, what the charity provides, and why it's so crucial in the support of families that who have experienced HIE.
So Peeps is a charity, as you said, we were set up back in 2018. So we're still a relatively new charity. It was set up because back when Steve and Sarah had their daughter Heidi, there wasn't a lot of support around for full-term HIE babies. There just wasn't anything that existed. And there was quite a gap for those families who were going through potentially a neonatal journey and beyond. So the charity was set up really to help support those other families who might be in that situation. So there's lots of things that Peeps do to help those families. We've got our so we have our parent support. So there's lots of different ways that we do. So we provide free parent packs to neonatal units, and we also help any free training for NHS staff that might need it. We have a specific equipment fund for families, and that's needs not means tested. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for a healthcare piece of equipment. It can be something that helps them in their daily life. All we ask for is a letter from a healthcare professional just to say why it would benefit the child. And then we have our counselling service. So we don't do the counselling ourselves. We're kind of the middleman. We liaise between a licensed trained counsellor and make it easy for a family to access counselling, where on the NHS they could be waiting some time on a waiting list. We can generally arrange it fairly quickly. We have our online resources. So our website's got a great accessibility toolbar. So if English isn't your first language, you can translate it, and there's lots of information about HIE and the charity on there. We have our peer support service, which is a one-to-one support service that's run by a lovely group of volunteers that we have. We have lots of community activities. So we have regular events, both online and in person. We've got lots of closed communities, such as our closed Facebook groups and our closed WhatsApp groups. There's a dad's group. There's a specific one for bereaved families, as sadly not all HIE babies survive. And then we have our in-person events, which we call Peeps Together events, and they're across the UK at different times, just depending on what we're doing at the time. So there's lots of different ways that we go to help families, and it's all about what a family needs when they're ready to receive support. So we don't have a cut-off point, and a family can contact us whenever it is that they feel that they're in need. And that's what the charity was set up for, is to help those families as and when they feel ready that they need help.
And as I said, I got to meet Sarah yesterday, and I also got to meet Liz and Jess. And as a relationship officer, what's your role within Peeps? What do you specifically deal with?
So I kind of deal with more the professional contacts. So it's things like working with our legal support panel and with the NHS and with other charities and organisations. We are involved in certain research projects as well, so some clinical trials and things. So I'm kind of involved in more the professional bodies side of things. I do see some families at some of the in-person events, but primarily I'm more to do with the background working in with organisations. We have our family inclusion workers who deal directly with the families themselves.
And do the families tend to join in the earlier period and then stick with Peeps pretty much going forward?
Yeah, so what we find is there is quite a range. So because we don't have that cut-off date as to when a family can come to us for support, and we are still quite a new charity, we find that a lot of families contact us when their babies are a few months old, just because that's the point where they feel ready to reach out for support. But we have had families contact us whilst their baby is still in active cooling. I think the youngest we've had, the baby was just a couple of hours old when a family reached out to us for support. Equally, some families are a lot older, and we have, teenage families, and we have a separate group for them that they can access, where it's kind of older children. So there's no cut-off limit. We'll help anyone who's been affected by HIE, but we do find that a lot of the families who come to us, it is that kind of younger period, just because they're looking for that support from the early stages.
Yeah. One of the things I think that it was key when you said then, so I know we've spoken before, but with HIE, you mentioned cooling, because one of the things is a lot of people aren't aware of HIE, and the cooling's pretty key, isn't it? The two are linked very closely.
Yes, very much so. At the moment, there's not really a treatment as such for HIE. There's no way to reverse the effects of what's happened. So cooling treatment at the moment is the only thing. So um, it varies. So the prime the best time to get cooling therapy started is within 6 hours of life. And basically, it's kind of a bubble wrap suit that has cold water pumped around it, which drops the temperature of the body, and it drops it to kind of 33, 34 degrees. And that's for 72 hours. And then the baby has to gradually be rewarmed. And it's only after that point that you can really see, and they can start doing scans and things to see if there's damage and what type of damage. And again, just because there is damage, that doesn't necessarily equate to how a baby will be affected by that. So it's really difficult, and it is a very much a horrible phrase that I hate using, but it is a wait and see. And for some families, they really do have to wait and see if they're going to reach their milestones or if they're not going to reach their milestones and things. So at the moment, cooling treatment is really the only option for families, and that's done for, there's 3 different grades of HIE event, and if you're a grade 2 or a grade 3, you will have the cooling process. If you're grade 1, they tend to do that watch and wait and see how the baby's developing and things like that, and they'll watch quite closely for the next 72 hours plus, and then start cooling if they feel the need to.
Yeah, one of my recent clients, I know that they've explained the process to me, what that they went through last year. And actually, that's my first experience of referring a family to Peeps, and they have absolutely sung your praises about how quick everything was put in place, and actually access two of the main things we were going to talk about today, which was the mental health and bereavement counselling, but along with the peer support. So I know that they've received both of them, and it was really fast. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to explain about that, so people are aware that that service is available.
Yeah, absolutely. So if a family feels that they might need some mental health support, and it can be individual, so it could be mum, it could be dad, it could be birthing partner, whoever it is, or sibling if they need it, if they need some mental health support or some counselling, because obviously the majority of HIE families, it's around birth trauma. Um, so if they feel like they might benefit from some counselling, it really is a postcode lottery across the UK as to how quickly the NHS can get some counselling ready. It really varies from kind of 6 to 18 months or so. Generally, if a family's happy with a virtual counselling appointment, we can arrange that within a few days, which is obviously a lot quicker than having to wait on the NHS waiting list. But we do facilitate in person or virtual. It literally comes down to what the person's preference is, to where they live. Do we already have counsellors in the area if it is that they want face to face and that sort of thing? So it just depends how quickly we can find someone that fits the criteria that we have about the specialist support that they need, but also that fits what the family's needs are. So it's all based around a family and their needs as to what we do. So counselling, it varies between 6 and 10 sessions, depending on what the family needs. And again, that's closely monitored by our family inclusion workers, and they work with the therapist just to make sure the family has what they need. Obviously, they don't discuss anything that's discussed during any of the sessions. It's just making sure that the family have got the support they need, that's all. And then, as you can imagine, sadly, not all HIE babies survive. We do have a separate bereavement support system for those families, and that's called Sully's Fund. It was set up in loving memory of baby Sullivan. We've had around 25 bereaved families that have accessed support for that. And we provide specialist bereavement counselling. Again, we don't do the counselling ourselves. This is through trained licensed counsellors and therapists. We have a closed Facebook group just for bereaved families, and we do provide one-to-one contact for that bereaved family, so that they can talk about what any other needs that they might have. And then we also have an amazing peer support service, which is goes through our volunteer coordinator, Laura. So she carefully matches a family that might want the peer support service with our volunteers. We have a lovely group of 15 volunteers at the moment. They all go through Peeps training, and they have other training opportunities as well, such as mental health first aiders if they wish to do so. It's a mixture of, we have mums, dads, grandparents within our volunteers group, so they're all matched through our volunteer coordinator. And so far we've run around 53 sessions using the support service, and it's ongoing. And again, it's entirely up to the family as to how often they feel that they would like to meet with their support worker, and it's all done on that individual family basis.
I know you've already talked about a couple of the, quite a few of the events that are put on, and a lot of them are for the families themselves. But one of the things that struck me when I was looking at the website and when we've spoken is the amount of things that are put on and how regularly there are meetings. I just wondered if you could explain a bit about, I mean, I noticed there's a book club, and that was one of
Yeah,
the
so
things.
there's an online virtual book club. So the book club, I believe it's held bi-monthly, and it's just a chance for those families who sometimes, as you can imagine, it can be quite difficult to get out and about and to attend something regular like a normal book club. Is quite difficult, especially if it's running in the evenings and things like that. So we run a virtual session, so it's easier for families to access if they want to. They can see what the book list is, and they can drop in and out if they want to. And that's the same for any of the virtual sessions that we run, and any of the in-person events that we do as well. It's all completely free for families. They can come along if they want to. So we have our book club, we have our trauma and brain recovery workshops, we have our Let's Chat sessions, which has got a variety of different topics and themes. We've got a separate dad support virtual session that they run as and when they need to. So we do quite a lot virtually as well as in-person events. Yeah.
So, I mean, the main question is, if there is a family out there that's perhaps watching this, or a friend of the family, how do they go about getting in touch with Peeps? And are there any conditions or criteria that they have to meet to be able to use the services?
No, not at all. So if they've been affected by HIE, they can contact us for support. So it doesn't matter what the cause of the event was, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. If they've had a HIE event, we can help support them. So to get in touch with us, they can just go on our website. So it's www.peeps-hie.org. There's a really simple registration form that just asks for their name, email address and phone number, and then one of our family liaison workers will get back to them and they can talk about what their needs might be. We do have our phone number on there as well, so it's 0800 987 5422. And yes, I did just have to read that off my screen. I don't know the number off by heart, but they can always call that and leave a message, and somebody again will get back to them as soon as they can. We've got our social media channels as well. So if they go onto Facebook, they can search for Peeps HIE, and we're on X and all the other standard social media channels as well. So if they've had a HIE event and they've been affected by HIE in some way, they can feel free to contact us and we'll work out the best way to help support that family, whatever their needs might be. We can help them.
Thank you. One of the things that I know Sarah said yesterday, that there were three sort of the main thing that you're focusing on is awareness, because the charity's still in its infancy, so you're trying to make people more aware of HIE. And obviously today, the day that we're recording it, is HIE Awareness Day, so it's important that we mention that. But equally so, through awareness, Sarah was saying that only through that will there be understanding, and then with the greater understanding, then there'll be accommodation of, you know, generally throughout society when people know more about it. So I'm glad that we've been able to do this today, particularly given the date.
Absolutely.
Hopefully
Yes.
we'll get to do some more things in the future.
Yes, definitely. So one of the things that we do find with the families that come to us for support is that if it hadn't happened to them, they would never have heard of it. And it's the same for me. I've worked in the NHS for a long time, far too many years to count, and I'd never heard of HIE until it happened to us. And it is one of those things, is that if you don't go through a HIE event, or you know someone who's been through a HIE event, you just won't have heard of it, and you don't know what the implications and things can be. So that's kind of our top message, is about raising awareness of the condition and the effects it can have, but also gaining acceptance for those families as well. And we're here to support them no matter what.
Great, thank you, Penny. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk.